Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday, and welcome to another episode of Tea and Coffee with Paula and
Miss J. So sorry about the hair. I think I need a haircut. Paula said let it grow out like a hippie, but I need a haircut. Oh, we
Pants
lost
on
LinkedIn.
fire.
So if you're on LinkedIn, you're the 4 people that watch on there. Sorry about that. Something's not right. Hopefully we have our locals and rumbles today.
Yeah. And by the way, I've been on him to go get him a haircut.
Let's just do a vote. Audience vote. If you think I need a haircut, give us a heart. If you think I can grow it out like a hippie, let's go ahead and give me a thumbs up.
Yeah, and the fact that I said you're using the word hippie means that it's getting
It
long.
means I'm hip. I'm hip.
And E.
Yeah, there's a little piece there sticking up.
Yeah.
Sorry for all those that are like me, and we were staring at that the whole show. I don't know. Maybe put that back on.
Yep. Morning,
Oh,
everyone.
yep. She said, put the hat back on.
Huh?
Did you say put the hat back on?
No.
Well, that's what I said. Maybe I should put the hat back on. Next
No.
word out of you was yep.
No, I was just me. No, you hit.
Should I put it back on or not?
No, it's fine.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Fine, be that way. This is what dinner's like too. All right, everybody. Oh, let's get me on there. So how
And
you
left
been?
the heater on. There you go.
Yeah, we got a whole checklist, like A to F things to get done.
A to F.
A to F things that need to get done.
Yes, my friend. But yes,
friend, I've been demoted. Friend zone.
See, there you go.
Need a
yes,
for the friend
a
zone
nice
alert.
trim. I concur.
A nice trim.
Yep.
Not an angry trim. Could be a nice trim.
Yes.
Not even friendly. Just nice.
Just nice. A decent trim. Morning.
What is the longest you've seen my hair? Like how long have I?
No.
I've had more hair at one point.
I think maybe our first when you went through the whole long beard phase.
Phase. I'm growing my beard
the long
out.
beard, because then you also wore the hat on the show, so you grew. Yeah, I'd say that's the longest. It's just it needed to be cut.
You mean like the picture in my ID for the press thing that time?
No, at least that got trimmed. It was before that. Yeah, no. But so what was that? That'd been 2000, maybe 2022. Maybe that winter.
That was 2022.
Yeah, you just needed a good. It just grew.
I have another picture which I could share later online. I shared it really early on my X, so if you go way back on there, you'll find it. From the shed. Remember, the hair was all pointed out.
Yeah, I'm fully aware. Aware.
I did it for the photo.
Yeah. Oh no, I know that. He looked like a terrorist, like one of those terrorists you find in a bunker somewhere.
I had a smile, so I was a nice terrorist.
Creepy terrorist.
In a shed in the middle of nowhere, off grid. Like I was checking off all the boxes for that picture.
But mind you, though, I can't talk when it comes to hair. I have my hair cut once a year, and it's like, yeah. And I'm certainly not having it cut now during winter. So you got Yeti Paula for the next little bit.
I like when you come out of the shower and it's curly. I like that.
You like the curly long hair.
All right, let's give up the Martin update because there's some with the little new animals.
Yeah, cats are still alive, doing well. They are now sniffing. Well, they're still in the crate, but now the dogs are coming up close and they're no longer hissing at them. And this morning, Oscar touched Charlie's nose.
Oh,
yeah. So I think another full day and they should be fine.
What's your plan there? Just to open up the door and let them wander at will, but have a space?
Yeah, so at least they have that. But I think the first thing is going to be get them out while we're holding them. Here, go sniff your step sibling, and just do that today. And then maybe by tomorrow, goes wander. Because it's also for their security too. We want them. This is a new space for them. The last thing we want is that they get spooked and just run away, and it's now minus 18 outside or something. So. Slowly, as I tell the boys, there's no rush. They're ours now. We want to keep them safe. That's the most important thing right now, safe and healthy during the winter.
Got it. So you have a plan. And how's their water overnight?
Perfect. I just need to top it up this morning. But yeah, the little heat wire is doing a great job. Absolutely thawed. They've got liquid.
Excellent. Yeah, because we're worried. We've got to get water to these animals. So now we have 3 devices to take care of the animals. And I made the last one with the wire around the can.
Yeah. And the goal is that they're going to end up sharing the water bucket with the dogs. Then that way it's one less thing we're plugging in and using electricity, which is a precious commodity for us during winter time. So keep
During
that.
the summer, though, we're good to go, but we don't need heated wire in the summer.
Exactly.
So we use we have extra power.
Lori, we adopted 2 7-month-old male cats. We got them a couple of days ago, and now we're just doing the slow introduction between them and the dogs. Let them get used to, and they're used to us. They're really sweet cats. They got their morning cuddle from me this morning. Well, while I'm doing the fire, so, might as well say hi. So no, two nice little boys named Oscar and Rascal.
Are you turning into a cat lady?
No.
Why can't you just open your heart to cats and dogs? You don't have to choose.
Look.
BDEI on the animal.
Hey, the fact that I give them cuddles, no, I'm open to it. But at the end of the day, no, dogs and big dogs are my preference. So as I'm sitting there with, squatting down, petting them, ours come up and they're like, "Hello, mum," and I'm like, "Hello." No, I love big dogs and the cats are fine. If I didn't, why would I bother petting them? No.
I love big dogs and I cannot lie.
True. Very true. And German Shepherds are my weakness. I love German Shepherds. Fond memories.
You got a quarter one right now.
Yeah.
And he seems to be doing all right with our changing the gate.
Yeah. No, here's the thing. It's the Pyrenees in him that is keeping him home, and he just wants to mark territory. But he's a great dog. He needs to improve on certain trainings, but he's a great temperament, like fantastic for the boys. He's a kind dog. I have a soft spot for Charlie.
He just keeps marking territory in the same spot on our driveways. So
yes.
Okay, Charlie, that's your territory. Move on somewhere else now.
Go somewhere else.
Excellent. And I think we're having a good time for winter. We've had some minuses, some deep minuses already, and generator is now working well.
Yeah.
So it did seem to be keeping that battery topped up is what we need to do, because it starts more frequently than expected. So that little 6 amp battery charger we put on there seems to be doing the trick.
Yeah, no, it's working a treat. The pipes are not freezing. The levers to empty out the tanks are moving freely. Nothing's frozen. So yeah, I would like, but again, we have no choice because of where the 2 are positioned outside. Where the thermostat and everything is, it can't be set lower, because I think we could get away with if they would be able to set lower, but we can't. They're on the lowest setting, the diesel heaters.
Yeah, the one outside, because it is on the lowest setting.
Yeah.
So there's nothing more you can do about that. You can turn it on and off, like if you want to defrost, but I want to stay away from trying.
I agree.
To break
Yeah,
the
no,
tanks or anything.
yeah, exactly. The last thing you want to do is a frozen pipe that you have to thaw out. The next test will really be the dishwasher. Not dishwasher, the washing machine tumble dryer, because I got to get laundry done, and I'm like, well, we've got to make sure that hose is thawed in order for us to do that. I'll check on that today.
That is something that's on my check it out list. So let me think about more how we can do that. If we put one of those wires on the hose, that would work, just like we did with the cats. That would keep it green clear.
Yeah. So the main test is water still reaching unfrozen and reaching the machines, and then will be the drainage part as well. So no check.
Right, because the hose runs underneath. Yes. So does it get to the machine, and then can it leave the machine? Both of those have the option to freeze right now.
Life on the homestead, folks.
One option could be is to just fire up the propane heater just for laundry. Just have it running while the laundry's going. Keep things going. That's one option. All right, we'll talk about that one more. I know Martin was dying to know how everything runs. So animals are good, Wilbur's good, dogs are good.
Yeah, like Anna says, Wilbur's living his best life, just harassing the dogs and trying to beat me into the shelter. If it was literally, this pig runs to try and beat me because he's not allowed in our shelter because there's things he can knock over and do damage to. But yeah, he literally runs. And he'll be like coming this way, and I'll be coming that way, and he will pick up speed to try cut me off of the path. It's funny. Yeah, he's gonna make fun bacon. Great.
Yeah, you have no issues making him eat the bacon.
Because I also know that his end date is a few years away because he's our breeder. So he's
unless he doesn't breed. See, the same pressure you gave me. Breed or else, buddy.
Yeah, but we are planning. We were told that there's a test for the sow that you push down on her flanks, and if she's like, ears back and like, oh, hello, she's
ready.
She's ready. And so play date will come over. She'll spend the weekend, because I think it's only like a 3-day window. She'll spend the weekend to do whatever, and hopefully We get a litter of piglets out of it for the spring. So yeah.
No pressure.
Yeah,
You
no
know, play
pressure.
some music.
No
What kind of music do you play for pigs and some romance?
I don't know. Maybe put on some Kevin Bacon movie, the background for them.
Kevin Bacon. We have a history with Kevin Bacon. We share that with you one day. All right, let's get into the news. We've got a good audience in here, and there's quite a few things to cover. Absolutely been a busy day again. And our guest today is going to be UCP President Rob Smith, who's going to share with us his lead up to the election, the winning of the election, what he plans to do, and some of the stuff he's working on recently, especially when responding to Bill 14 and some other things coming out of the government itself.
Also highlight re-elected Rob Smith.
Re-elected.
Yeah.
Yep. And independence. We'll kind of clarify where he's stand on that one. Some people think he's not for it. But my early chat with him was, no, he is. He is for independence. He's been talking about that for quite some time. So we'll kind of clear the air and correct the record on some of that.
Excellent. So
the Bruce Party interview yesterday was awesome. A lot of people liked it. And I really love our audience. We have one of the best audiences out there. And I'm not just sucking up to you. It's really true. You do want truth, even when it hurts or sucks or anything like that. I had one comment that said, oh boy, every time Bruce Party comes on, he finds the problems with the legal side and lets us know. And sometimes it sucks. Yes, that's exactly what we want. That's what's called truth. Sometimes the truth hurts. So he was highlighting how Bill 14 kind of just kicked down the road the contravention of the Constitution check. One good thing about it is it's not with the court; it's with the government. And another good thing about it is it's not required. Like even if it does contravene, they don't have to say no. It's an option. It's going to be the choice of the government after a successful referendum. I can tell you now, after thinking about some more, I can't see a scenario where the referendum comes back as yes, and then the government of the day says no. That would kick off a lot of problems on a democracy level. You have a majority of people saying it. That would be very difficult for that government. I don't think it would last very long after that. In fact, if the government said, no, we're not going to give what the people said, they may as well just do an election. Yeah. Because you've set your stage. Like it's time for you to go then because you're not being a democratic leader. So I don't see a scenario where that happens. But maybe they considered it and needed another check in case something super radical happens and they do bring it forward. And I've also reached out to the chief electoral officer to have him on the show because he provided a letter to Mickey Amory, who's going to be on later today, about his opinion of Bill 14 and how the decision to allow the referendum moved from him, the chief electoral officer, to the minister of justice, which will be Mickey Amory, and his suggestions around that. He's not completely against that change. He just thinks that if that change has to happen, then he should be taken out of the loop completely because Elections Alberta receives the application. And then the process would be, if Bill 14 passes, then it goes to the Minister of Justice to approve, and then it goes back into Alberta elections to process and set up and do the rest of it. And his recommendation, the CEO of Alberta, Chief Electoral Officer, is, well, then just keep me out of the process. Make the application go to you first, and then you pass it to us when it's good to go. I think that's more clerical than anything else, so I don't think that's big news, but I'm looking to have him on to talk a bit more about that, maybe some of the recall applications, the process in general, how it was for him to go to the court, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So we're looking to have him on. So I'll keep you posted on that one. But Mickey Amory's on today at 3 with Bruce Party as well. Been in for that one. All right. So the big news yesterday was around the vote at the House for the motion from the Conservatives. So this was earlier in the day where the news came out that Pierre Poilievre was going to amend his motion to also include the carbon capture portion of it. And that's what he did. So I said, oh, wow. Now even Poilievre is putting carbon capture on the table for Alberta. He just amended his motion to include it in order to get Liberal support to pass the motion. Pierre called the MOU a political photo op. What should we call a non-binding motion on the MOU? Now, remember, Pierre called the MOU worthless or something along those lines and a photo op, the actual signing of it. But he's bringing forward a motion, or was bringing forward a motion, that won't change anything about something that's non-binding. So is this just another photo op for him at this stage? Or, as we'll see later, was he pushing the issue on the Liberals to see where they really stand? One thing we did yesterday, which we will be very careful about doing during the live show, is we brought up a comment that implied that this is already voted and passed. It hadn't. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll be a lot more careful about bringing news like that forward and double checking it. Sometimes things do happen live, and our comments and our audience is really good at bringing this to us live. But that particular piece didn't happen yet. The vote did happen a little bit later, but it was certainly being talked about that the Liberals were already decided. So we knew that part. We knew that how it was going to turn out. So again, the must watch for the day after this episode with Rob Smith will be this afternoon. So Much Watch Live, Alberta's Minister of Justice, Honorable Mickey Amery on guns, Bills 13 and 14, and recall abuse. Join Alberta's Minister of Justice and Attorney General, Honorable Mickey Amery, alongside Constitutional Law Professor Bruce Party for a special live episode of The Levine Show on Wednesday, today, December 10th at 3 p.m. Mountain, 5 p.m. Eastern. And that will be live, and we have 30 minutes of his time. We'll be diving into some of the most consequential legal issues facing Alberta today, including firearms protection and the Castle Doctrine, Bill 13, bless you, the Jordan Peterson Professional Governance Bill or Act, Bill 14, amended referendum powers, and potential changes to the Alberta recall legislation because it's being abused. I suggest it needs to be modified slightly. So we have 30 minutes with the minister, and you can expect a fast-paced, substantive conversation. Catch the live stream right here on X. Blah 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 blah. So yeah, join us at 3 o'clock. This is going to be a good one, and this is not a debate. Just to be clear, it's going to be questions being asked and receiving answers. So thank you to his team for the 30-minute window, and should be good.
Yeah.
Also, thank you to the JCCF, Justice Center for Constitutional Freedom, who posted the event that we're working on, because John Carpe is a guest speaker on that one. This is doing very well. So go get some tickets if you want to be there. It is selling quite well. So this event is going to be good. It's going to be packed. I expect it's going to be full. We are trying to see if we can get a larger venue. So the sooner tickets are purchased, we'll be able to decide that.
Yeah.
Once we reach a certain level, we'll be able to book it. At this stage, though, we're doing quite well with the 500-seat venue. So go ahead and grab your tickets there. And thank you to the JCCF for posting it. Right. And also yesterday, we replayed Dr. Regina Watteel's presentation to the JCCF about her findings around the COVID mandates and the data that was flawed. Absolutely, I wouldn't want to be her kid going through school, because boy, can she find the errors in the numbers and make sure things are good. I actually really love it, to be honest with you. I was that math student that corrected the teacher on occasion. I was that guy.
He was that guy.
So I like her a lot on this. Watch this presentation. It's 47 minutes. It is eye-opening. She covers the 7 biases that were put into the stats. Because all stats can be manipulated, and especially when you put a bias in there. For example, labeling people who received the vax were sick as unvaxxed because it's within a 14 or 21-day period. They were vaxxed, but they were counting them as unvaxxed.
Manipulated information.
Yep. And also the age biases. Certain age groups had a larger number of people who were already ill, and they were counting them as unvaxxed ill when they had comorbidities and other things going on. So check that out. She shows how in 7 different ways the data was massaged and manipulated to provide false conclusions that was then used to bring in things like the mandates and lockdowns and passports and all that stuff. If you remember, it was brutal, and all of the experts were reading this wrong, were the ones providing it to media and providing it to our lawmakers. So do check this out. It's an excellent presentation. When I watched it live, I did have to pick my jaw up a few times, because what, really? Look at that. And as soon as you correct the data, I was like, oh, wow, well, that just flipped the script. So go check it out. Same thing she did with Fistman's fraud. Looked at the data. in Fissman's case, he literally flipped the chart so that it was mislabeled and misrepresenting. This is a more conniving way of doing it. And also one thing that she revealed in here was Health Ontario, who was providing the data, was very clear. This data is garbage. They were basically saying it and all the caveats and stuff.
They knew as information and data is coming out over the weeks, the months, the years. They know, but they have allowed it to be manipulated. They've allowed it to be the public being misinformed about it. There's an agenda, and they've made it very clear with that. And they tried to fudge the data and.
Well, not so much fudge. They've actually provided all the disclaimers and caveats about the data, which basically said this is unreliable. But the experts, until Dr. Vittal took a look at it, ignored those caveats. And when you apply the caveats like she did, you'll find all the biases and you'll find that it gives a much different story.
Yes. And Nikki, yes, experts, they were not.
Nope. But Vittal, hopefully people support her, follow her, and this report goes from preprint to peer review and then to published. And once it hits published, this should really open up a lot of doors for the accountability stage. That's what we're hoping for. So go check that video out. It's really, really good. Okay. And this Chris Berthelot.
Berthelot, yeah.
I don't know if his real name or not. Clearly, he's a liberal NDPer. If you take a look at his profile, he's got 4 corrupt flags on his profile there. He calls himself a journalist, yada, yada, yada. He's doing exactly what the CBC is doing, which is twisting the narrative around Danielle Smith because she says United Alberta or Sovereign Alberta inside of United Canada. She hasn't changed that messaging. They're calling that a yes to the Federalist side and supporting Thomas Usakic. So here he is saying exactly what CBC said that she said. Oh boy, there's a lot of saids in there. And this is annoying because it seems to be the first wave of the attack on the independence movement is to try to put Danielle Smith on a side, and she's not on a side right now. She may have a lot of Federalist rhetoric, but she always had ever since she brought forward the act. Now, before that, she had a lot more independence talk, especially with Wild Rose and when she was running for leadership. So things changed there a little bit, but she's definitely highlighting here how she's still on the I'm not taking a side, and she's still fighting to prove that Canada works. So this guy is doing what CBC did and misrepresenting her current position. So I responded here. This isn't breaking, and it isn't new because you label it as breaking news. Premier Smith has consistently stated that she supports Alberta sovereignty within a united Canada. It's literally the full name of her Sovereignty Act. There's a source to that because it's called Alberta Sovereignty within a United Canada Act. So I should be clear about that. And what you're seeing now are people like this debating Chris trying to rewrite that position to match Thomas Usakic's Federalist narrative. It's the same reframing tactic CBC used before they had to issue a correction. This won't divide the UCP, and it certainly won't change the Premier's stated position. It only exposes how desperate some are to manufacture a storyline that doesn't exist. Real journalists deal in facts, Chris. So it's going to keep pushing that because that's what we did to the CBC, and they had to correct. And if I see this pop up on my feed, I'm going to address it. She hasn't said she's going to vote either way. So let's be fair about it. Now, she hasn't said she's for independence, and she hasn't said she's not for independence. So let's keep it that way until she changes the record.
Okay.
Looks like you want to state something there.
No, I'm good.
You did, I can tell you. Marty here, he highlighted that the motion passed or didn't pass. The motion to build a pipeline was defeated by a vote of 196 against versus 139 for. And every party in the House of Commons except the Conservatives voted against building an oil pipeline in Alberta.
I'll say it again. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, no, we saw this one coming. They actually said they were going to do this. And just like that, Mark Carney and his Liberals just handed Danielle Smith a reality check. There will be no Alberta pipeline, period. That's been clear for anybody that's been through this road many times. Like, this is not the first time. There is no investor in the world who will now back a pipeline project in Alberta. The chances of the MOU being successful is slim to none, and Slim just voted no. And look, and here's the thing. Kudos to her for trying. Kudos to her, and I think what the big reveal here is there is no way to work with Ottawa.
Mhm.
Even if they come here and sign an MOU, immediately after the ink, even not even
He
dry,
didn't even leave the province.
he starts talking about the wins for him, which was the carbon tax, industrial carbon tax, carbon capture, and net zero. Immediately, he was highlighting what he believes are going to be his wins, completely ignoring everything else.
Yeah.
Also making it clear that BC, First Nations in BC and Alberta have, it's not called a veto, but it technically is a veto
Yeah, it is.
on the pipeline. And now, when push came to shove, and keep in mind what Pierre did here is he copied the MOU text, put it into a motion, and said, all right, guys, put your money where your mouth is. And Carney himself voted it down.
Yeah.
His signature's on there. And he voted it down. So it's very clear. And by the way, this motion isn't a we will build a pipeline motion. It's a we are going to support this when these terms are met. So
Yes.
it's basically saying, hey, are you going to put up if Alberta does their part? And Carney and the rest of the Liberals said no.
Mhm. Yeah, and like I said, his signature in invisible ink is all over.
Is it
The whole-
petroleum-based visible ink?
Yeah.
Anyway, so now we have that answer, and it's frustrating. Okay.
Correct.
And we do have Rob Smith hanging out with us right now. We'll see you in a bit there, bud. Because here we're highlighting that join Rob Smith, UCP president, on the Levine Show Wednesday. That's now, as we talk about his election win at the UCP AGM, his position on Bill 14, and the challenges ahead for the party under his leadership. And remember, he's the president of the party, not the government. And he definitely has a big role and big shoes to fill. And this is in response to Western Standard post and article where the UCP president spreads wrath over claims that Bill 14 could lead to leadership review. He said similar things on our show Monday, Jeffrey Rath.
What, today's Wednesday?
Yeah.
Yes, on
We
Monday.
had Rath, then party, now we have Rob. But on Monday he said similar things. I wasn't pleased with Danielle Smith, but he didn't go as harsh as he did after our show. So we can touch on that a little bit. Now, Rath did make a statement clarifying his position a bit, but we know where he stands. He's very aggressive against Danielle Smith, and we have enough time for this. Yeah, we do. Alberta Independence Reason, 1799.
One more to go, which will come.
1-8. 1-8.
No, it's
1-8. Yeah, the 6-7 stuff. Our kids are cute with it. But anyways, we'll move forward on that one. When Alberta becomes a strong and free nation, the biggest shift won't just be economic. It will be who chooses to live here. Across Canada, people who value hard work, freedom, personal responsibility, low taxes, and limited government are already looking for a place where those principles can thrive. And independent Alberta would become that destination. Call it a peaceful prisoner exchange. We've used that term a few times on the show. Those who want opportunity, prosperity, and freedom will come to Alberta to build, invest, and contribute. Those who depend on ever-expanding government control, heavy regulations, and ideological bureaucracy will naturally migrate to provinces that prioritize that model, places like BC and Ontario. This isn't about forcing anyone out. It's about Alberta setting a clear direction and people choosing the society that aligns with their values. When Alberta's values take center stage, free from Ottawa's radical experiments and bureaucratic weight, we will see a wave of skilled workers, entrepreneurs, families, and freedom-minded Canadians flock here to build a new nation. In a strong and free Alberta, we will attract the builders and lose the baggage. That's how a nation grows. Now, I know there's some people that don't want, what is it called inside of Canada? Is it still immigration? Migration. Migration, I think, is a closer term. Don't want migration, but first, we already have the freedom to cross borders in Alberta and Canada.
And we also know what it's like to have that restricted.
Right, and I think this will be a two-way road. We already had people leaving Alberta because of Senator Danielle Smith's legislation around the trans issue. And, there are other places that will welcome you with that insanity in your mind. So go ahead and find it. But I also think that when Alberta gets to the point where Albertans say, yes, it's time for independence, if that stage comes, a lot of people will leave and a lot of people will come.
Yeah.
So let's get prepared for that. But I do think the people that are come are going to be the ones that want to work hard and build a nation, not the ones that want to tear it down. Those guys and gals and theys and thems can go somewhere else. Statement from Jeffrey Rath. So as we get into our guest here, I think it's important to kind of bring this one up. because he provided a statement, I guess, in response to the pushback of the Western Standard article. It's going to happen, Jeff. And if you read this, he's basically saying he's not going to run for office. He's not trying to get rid of Daniel Smith. Others may be having that position, and he's just a messenger. Don't shoot him. One message I'm going to say to Mr. Rath on this one is, dude, you do the same thing to others. Okay, I've seen some of your posts about Bruce Party.
Yeah,
and Bruce Party has done nothing but interpret the law correctly, as his history and his record shows. So maybe this will be a moment where a little reflection will happen, because I do like talking to Jeff. He does have a lot of legal mind that's valuable to everybody, but he also does do the shooting the messenger himself, especially against Bruce Party. So my comment here was statement from Jeffrey Rath as he clears the air about his recent comments. He says he will not be running for any office. He is not trying to remove Daniel Smith, and he's just reporting on what he's being told. I can confirm that some, not all, CA presidents are upset with an amendment in Bill 14, and I will be talking to both Rob Smith in a moment now and Mickey Amory later today about it. Thank you, Jeff, for making the statement. I fully understand how some do shoot the messenger when they don't like what is said. Hint, hint, Mr. Rath.
yeah.
It's something you've done to me and others. So let's just kind of level the playing field here. Everybody's welcome to their opinion, and we're all focused on bettering Alberta.
Yep.
Even if you don't live in Alberta, there's people focused on
Yeah,
that.
and I just want to add some of the comments, because regarding the response to Bruce, we've got a comment here in our look chat. I would rather be armed with the knowledge that Bruce shares than be ignorant of legal risks.
Correct. And it also gets you
it's
ready
fact.
for it, and there's no surprises.
Yeah.
And look, I'm on that page, and if you're an audience of the show, you are too. You want your truth. Speaking of truth, it's that time. The man for the next half an hour. Good morning, Mr. Rob Smith. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning, Paula and Jason. Very, very happy to be here with you this morning.
Thanks for joining us today. And sorry we couldn't get you on before the AGM. I did reach out, but you had a really full plate and you're very busy. And here we go. You won that election for president. So this is your second term now?
Correct. Yep, that's right.
Congratulations. Can you share with us some of your highlights from your first term?
Well, you know, Jason, when I what stimulated me to want to run for president was actually the moments after, in 2022, I ran for Southern Regional Director and lost. And lost to a great guy by the name of Albert Van Heerden, who's become a really, really good friend of mine, placed third behind the second place candidate, who was Chelsea Petrovic, who would end up becoming the MLA for Livingston-McLeod. And as I was looking at the incoming board on the stage, the folks that had been elected in 2021, plus the ones that were joining them then in 2022, I thought, you know, I think that this board is reflective of the fact that we are a party that is still a little bit in the storming phase, that this party does need some leadership to help get us through to where we actually not only normalize, but just get into straight performing. And so that's why I actually ran in 2023 with a little bit of a secondary focus that was maybe very specific about wanting to ensure fair, open, transparent candidate selection processes, because that was something I was critical of our own party about prior to the 2023 election, and with the full support of my Old Didsbury Three Hills UCP Constituency Association cohorts, who we wrote letters about at least two of those disqualifications that took place because we just didn't think that they made a lot of sense. So those were the reasons why I ran. Accomplishments in that first 2 years, I think that people want to talk about there being challenges on our board of directors. I mean, there's challenges among any team that ever comes together. We're a pretty united board. We're united behind our leader. We're united behind our members, all of our members. Ironically, we're a group that is completely grassroots focused, whether that means people who are as federalist as they come to people who are let's just not even call them independence minded, but say want separation and they want it tomorrow, like we are happy to represent all those people and listen to all of them. So the irony that I was wanting to point out from a few seconds ago was when people were talking about we got to get independence-minded people, separation-minded people on the board. Like, I got to tell you, the makeup of the board of directors prior to the last election, the makeup to the board of directors since the last election, this is a group of people that are incredibly open to the input of our members. And I think it's fair to say that they want the same kind of things that you do.
All right. Okay. So you kind of teed it up for me there. So I'm going to have to ask the question. When you say the input from the members, we heard the input from the members loud and clear. They're talking about independence, whether you want to say separation, or separatists, or grassroots federalists. A majority, and it's a clear majority, and I've seen some of the polls within the UCP itself. It's pretty overwhelming that they want independence. So are you saying that the current board, even the previous one, is independent minded or aligned with the members?
Jason, it's one of the things. So within the independence movement right now, I'm kind of seeing this as two groups of people within the independence movement: the reasonable, rational, typical conservative, independence-minded people, and the folks that are just so rabid that they want it so bad. Their anger at Ottawa is just so profound that all they see is that it's got to happen tomorrow. And anybody who's not trying to make it happen tomorrow is an enemy. They're standing in the way of making it happen. And that's one of the reasons why I responded to Jeff Rath the way that I did yesterday, because I don't think that rabid, extraordinary, rage-baiting approach to trying to get Albertans to agree to independence is the way that's ultimately going to pass, because I don't think that Albertans cotton well to being bullied or to being forced against their will into a position that isn't really their position. And so I think it's fair to say that the question of independence, while that represents a significant number of our membership, I think it represents a significant number of our board members. I think it represents a significant number of sitting MLAs. And I think it represents a sitting number of the people that actually work in the provincial legislature. And I think that the challenge for me that makes me so frustrated with these rage-baiting separatists is that they're running the risk by wanting to beat up on these people that are already independence minded. They not only want the referendum, they actually want the referendum with a question about, do you want independence to pass? Like the number of people who want that is profound. There's no two ways about it. I don't think it's the majority of Albertans yet, but I do think it is the majority of conservatives. And so the importance of the respectful conversation between now and when that referendum takes place, between all of the people that I just mentioned within the conservative movement, but also among, Albertans, are people who are born and raised and live and die and do the work and raise and build this province. That's the important work. And what Jeff Rath is doing is completely putting that asunder, because the majority of people are not motivated by that kind of approach. The way Mitch Sylvester approached the Alberta pension plan, that is the approach. I mean, this is a man who moved the needle on not just awareness of, but approval of an Alberta pension plan between the fall of 2023 and the spring of 2025 by about 20%. We knew as long as the government was running with that message that it was about a third of Albertans that were saying, we think this is a good idea. Mitch Sylvester got together with Tanner 90, a few other people. They ran dozens and dozens of open houses across the province, town halls across the province, talked about the importance of this. What happens in the wake of the devastating federal election that we all, thought was maybe the worst thing to happen to us since the provincial election of 2015. A few days after that, there's the poll release that indicates now more than half of Albertans are in favor of the Alberta Prosperity Project. This is what Alberta Pension Plan. This is what consensus building does. And what so many in this wild, rabid separation now, tomorrow, screw the rest of you, they're missing that point. And I think we've got a pretty narrow window. And I think Bill 14 is actually about trying to narrow that window for us, where the government has actually said, Elections Alberta, you were wrong to send us to the Court of King's Bench. Justice Feasby, thanks, but no thanks. We didn't need you to weigh in on this. We're going to allow a better path for this citizen-led initiative, and it's going to come fast. It's probably going to come fast and furious, and before you know it, we're going to be at that referendum. And if people are supportive of independence, it's got to happen at the grassroots level. It's got to happen in the coffee shops. It's got to happen at people's kitchen tables. And a big part of that is the work that the Alberta Prosperity Project did so successfully with the Alberta Pension Plan. That's, if we're going to have a successful vote on succession, that's what it's going to take. And what Jeff Rath's currently doing is wrong, wrong, wrong.
Well, and I'm not here to defend Jeffrey Rath. He's a big boy. He certainly will. I'm pretty sure he will defend himself just fine on this. But what I do want to do is my observation of freedom movements in general, whether they're Alberta or across Canada. There's always a really angry group that's ready. Okay. And then there's the pragmatic group that you're talking about that says, okay, well, here are the steps. Here's what we need to do. And I can tell you from my conversations with more than just Jeff Rath, that angry group is being stoked quite a bit by Ottawa and some of the things that are happening. So there's fuel being thrown on a fire, and they're actually getting more stoked. Now, here's where I'm going to suggest to you, Rob, there is a benefit. Angry people who follow a leader who is keeping them, grouped together and not going too far, there's a benefit to that. Because some of these people who are super angry about separation, we don't need the pitchforks in the fire, right? Okay, so at this stage, we really don't need that. That would be even worse than some comments online by Jeff Rath. If others start to take it within their own power to try and do stuff, that would be worse to the whole movement, to Alberta, to people in general. So as long as the cat corralling is happening behind Jeff and his rage type of stuff, like he's angry too, but at least they're doing it through talk. I would suggest to you that there is a benefit to having a leader like Jeff who's going to help them temper down their rage so that we don't cross any lines. This is the kind of thing that we saw in Ottawa during the convoy. There were some angry people, but nobody crossed the line, which is good. There was a lot of people, talking online. They were very raged. They were very upset. They were talking about treason for Trudeau and some other things. Okay. Good thing that group didn't go further, because that would have been a very bad outcome for all of Canadians in Ottawa. So having someone that they can get behind on a rage level and not cross a line there's a value there. However, what I do agree with what you're saying here is what we don't need is to splinter up the movement and start throwing arrows at each other. Like, that is not helpful. Friendly fire is what I call it. That's not helpful at all, because what it doesn't do is it doesn't move the needle in the right direction. And it certainly doesn't move the pragmatic group towards rage. It doesn't do that. And then the optics in general for the people that are moderates that are still considering it, they don't like seeing that. They're like, well, I don't want to be part of a group that's going to friendly fire each other, throw arrows at each other. And I don't like the idea of that some of this rage leadership style can't be translated into the new Alberta. So there's a concern there about the leadership. Like, what will Alberta's leadership look like if it looks like this now? So I agree with those kind of optics and those kind of dynamics that are happening. But this happens in basically any group of 5 or more. You're going to have the really angry one. You're going to have some pragmatic ones. And then you're going to have the ones that need some more convincing. So I agree with you on the level of it's not good for moving the needle back in the direction that we want. But I will propose that there is a value there, because a lot of Albertans are really, really angry. They're very upset. Like, every week that goes by, Carney gives them another reason to be very upset. What are your thoughts about that?
Oh, I think that's very fair, Jason. Like, the relationship with our federal government is,
Rob, we lost your audio.
Yeah.
See if it's working. Oh boy. Oh, we lost your try something here.
I haven't.
Talking. Yeah, you're back.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
I'm
you're
back.
back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you're back.
I was just saying, Jason, that who'd have thought when you and I were little that we were living under the prime ministership of the good Trudeau? Like, it sure didn't feel like that in the late 70s, early 80s. It felt like
His
we were
offspring is pretty evil.
Oh, his offspring. I mean, he's terrible. Worst prime minister in history. This one certainly not proving to be a whole lot more exciting. So, like, and this kind of goes back to some of the comments I was making to folks yesterday about, like, I don't really consider the federal Liberal vote against the Conservatives' motion yesterday to be truly a motion against the MOU. I think that probably Carney still considers the MOU a win from his perspective. This was more theatrics from Poilievre's side, uh, trying to force the issue just to prove what he said in those days leading up to when the MOU got signed. But I think that at this point, an awful lot of Albertans still believe that the fact that an MOU was signed between Alberta and the federal government is a good thing. I think the majority of Albertans realize that. I think that, or they think that. I think that what's important, though, between now and when a referendum takes place, because I think it's really important to note that, like, a week after the MOU was signed was when our provincial UCP government introduces Bill 14 that is about making this citizen-led initiative a little bit clearer, a little bit faster, and not prone to the fumbling of the Elections Alberta executive director and putting it in the hands of a federally appointed Court of King's Bench judge. That was never ever the intent. I mean, both Minister Amory and Premier Smith wrote letters immediately after that happened to say this didn't need to happen. I mean, Elections Alberta, you totally had the right to rule on this. You didn't need to do this. So, I mean, they've been very clear about that. But yet, Jason and Paula, a lot of, again, those are wild, angry, independence-minded people have wanted to beat up on the fact that the Premier stands against the referendum, that the Premier doesn't support the referendum. Some of our really good, probably separation-minded CA presidents were going wild a week ago about that CBC interview, talking about how Premier Smith had sold them out because of the misinterpretation between English and French. The thing that's important to me is that conservative-minded people, and I really care about the party. That's my objective. That's the only thing I'm focused on, and what we want as a party to try to achieve from a provincial perspective. That Premier Smith is on this. She knows where people are at. She has an affinity with, a respect for, and an ability to tap into, I believe, the collective consciousness of Albertans in a way that maybe few, maybe no Premier before her has ever done. So, I mean, she knows where the independence-minded people are. And I honestly think that it's fair to say that she totally gets that too. I think anyone who believes that she's being deluded by Mark Carney, that she's being deluded by the federal government, certainly the people who say she wants to become a federal minister, that she wants to be part of a CPC federal government, these people are not knowing what is fact. And the fact is that Premier is trying to line everything up so that Albertans have the opportunity to see for themselves what the federal government is about. This federal government, not the Trudeau one. We all hated them. I think it's fair to make a very ridiculously blanket statement like that, because I think it's fair in Alberta to say that's true. I mean, let's be honest. The nation gave Carney, while a minority, they did give him a chance. The lipstick was on the pig, and the majority of baby boomers across the country went for the lipstick. It didn't really happen in Alberta, but I mean, Liberals in Alberta, that's a non-starter. So it's important to me that our people understand what the premier's doing and why she's doing it and why she's approaching things the way they are. I think you yourself have said, Jason, is this about being able to then showcase when Prime Minister Carney doesn't move forward on stuff? I don't know that, but boy, that's a compelling argument to me, don't you think?
I do, and this is something we've said on the show many times, is it seems like we're going through a divorce. We haven't reached that stage yet, and she's given him the opportunity. Ever since I chatted with her on April 28th, when the election happened, like, she was disappointed. She thought Pierre was going to get in, but it did seem like she was giving Carney the opportunity to put up or get out. That kind of attitude. When she did the 9 bad laws, that was kind of her opportunity to say, hey, look, are you going to work with us or not? You didn't move on those. When she gave the Grey Cup deadline to be on the major projects list, you didn't move on that. And then the MOU, I think, was the lowest hanging fruit possible for both sides at that stage. And I slightly disagree with you about the motion from Pierre, even though I'm not a Pierre fan, because I do think he could be a lot stronger. And if he was a lot stronger, we may have a conservative government right now. But what I do think he was trying to do was getting the Liberal Party side, not necessarily Carney, but the rest of the Liberal Party side, to say, where do we stand on this particular issue? Because Carney signed, sure, okay, but where do the rest of the Liberals stand on that? And where do the rest of the party stand on that? So the Bloc and the Green and the NDP, that was exposed yesterday. So I do think that there was some value in that, to go ahead and expose the rest of the the parliament on where do you guys stand. We know where Carney stood. He wanted to try and make a deal happen. I think it would have sent a big message if Carney would have voted for it. Even the rest of his party didn't. But this is now party politics, right? There's no way a leader can go against his entire party. They would remove him immediately, so he knows where he stands. But I do think it does send a message to Albertans that no matter what, if we do our carbon capture, we do our industrial carbon tax, we do our side of the MOU, are we going to run into a problem with Parliament? And I think the answer is very clear. We are. So we're not going to run into just BC and First Nation issues that we have to negotiate and navigate. We're going to run into problems with all the other parties who are not even a part of this, like NDP, Bloc, Green, and the rest of his caucus. So I think that there was a lot of value there. One thing I do want to kind of correct about the CBC issue that popped up, we're the ones who actually broke that to the Premier's office and had them comment, and that led to CBC correcting it because we did the translation. The French dubbing on top of the Premier, who was speaking in English the entire time, is accurate. What isn't accurate is the article, and then the headline certainly wasn't accurate because the headline said campaigning against Alberta sovereignty, which she's not doing. So I do want to kind of just suggest there that it wasn't a French misinterpretation. The French translation was accurate. It was CBC massaging that into a narrative that they wanted. And we're seeing this happen today, Rob. A lot of left-leaning media or commentators are still twisting that narrative to say that she is a federalist. But I do want to back you up on your comment that it looks like she's setting up Carney to put up or else. And that's the way she put it on my show when I interviewed her. It's like, look, I'm trying to show Albertans that we can work within Canada. But the quiet part she's not saying out loud is, but if we can't, then we have other options. So at this stage, I think what you're trying to highlight here is the pragmatic side of the independence part of the UCP party, which is, look, we can taste it. We can see it. And there's a couple more things in the way here. However, if Canada does build a pipeline, does work with us, does get rid of the 9 bad laws, does put us on a major project list, that's an Alberta that we want to see. So that's a pragmatic side. But I got to tell you, it looks like that runway is starting to run out. As a pilot, I know how important it is to either take off or die. Like when that runway is done, decisions have to be made. You're either flying or you're not. And I think we're getting to that point. And maybe the Jeff Rass out there see the end of that runway sooner than the rest of us. And it doesn't mean they're wrong. It just means we have to make some decisions soon. Thoughts on that?
I think that that the timing of Bill 14, which the primary focus is on the citizen-led initiative aspects of that bill, coming the week after the MOU, I just think I think how appropriate that is. I would suspect if I was inside the mind of our premier or if I was inside the mind of our government, that they recognize the finiteness of that runway as well, Jason. And I think that's why, I think now with this kind of change and where it puts Mitch Sylvester and the Alberta Prosperity Project in terms of the work they need to do, that'll be early in the new year, that we're probably looking at an October 2026 referendum. So I think that that's part of the part of the runway that you're talking about. And I feel like everything Premier Smith and her government has actually done, there is a plan to it. They're always trying to lead into something that is bigger. And so this is my frustration with the rage baiters that Jason, I got to tell you, I don't think are doing any good on this particular aspect of then trying to whip a bunch of CA presidents into a frenzy about Bill 14 on like section 9.2 or 9.3. I'm not entirely sure. I don't have it in front of me. But the part that actually talks about who files the candidates with Elections Alberta.
Oh, the final endorsement. Yeah.
Exactly. That sheet, that endorsement sheet, we don't use that. That's something Elections Alberta actually has. It sits on their website. It's been there. I mean, the act is from 1980, right? So the act is back from the Lougheed conservatives of 1980. Like, that is not the form that we use to actually submit the candidates on behalf of our party. And it has been a staffer that has actually submitted those candidates on behalf of the party. And I think the fact that the government decided, well, maybe it should actually be the leader who is the one whose name goes on this, or that is responsible for the filing, or their designate, that's probably a more transparent way to approach it. This is an entirely administrative approach. And I'm frustrated by this because I've talked to really sharp, really smart people that I have a huge amount of respect for, that believe that this is a power grab. And there's just no part of this that is a power grab. That endorsement form is not a form we use. Our executive director will indicate never once in either the 2019 election, based on the historical records that we've got, he wasn't there at that point in time, but then the last election, is that something that we've used? Perhaps CAs have actually helped to file the EA financial reports for candidates using that form, but like, the CAs are losing nothing. People want to believe that our entire nomination process is going to be put asunder. We're not that people are that worried about Danielle Smith, but if we got a leader that was a despot, that they would be able to run rampant over just picking and choosing the own people that they want. And I mean, it's not the case. For them to do that, they would be operating outside of our own governance manual, which has a very clearly defined candidate selection process that involves the constituency association. It involves the provincial candidate selection committee, which is a subcommittee of the provincial board of directors, and then all the membership of the local constituency that actually have the opportunity to vote. The very final thing is when the submission takes place. And if the leader of our party ever wanted to put asunder that process, man, oh man, they're going to have bigger problems than that one particular appointment, because we have an incredibly grassroots membership. They will put up with that kind of an action like never, ever, and they'll jump all over it. And it's just not going to happen. But our rage baiters have got our people thinking that they're having rights stripped away. And that kind of stuff frustrates the heck out of me, Jason. I got to be honest.
I just also want to highlight a lot of people in the chat are frustrated, but they also dislike being called rage baiters too.
It's okay, babe.
But no, just to highlight that just one person here. I love this comment here from Debbie, which I think is quite key. There's a difference between assertive, raised voices with stats and substance versus aggressive yelling with no stats and substance. I personally get more information from these podcasts to make an informed decision. I'm very angry. I watch how I communicate with others about this topic in person, so they will listen to hear and not walk away.
Right, but he's not talking about the Debbies out there. So to be very clear, if you're watching this kind of show, you're looking for information and you're not the angry ones he's referring to. I kind of agree with the audience here a bit, Rob, that focusing on us what a weird term to come out of me right now, a small fringe minority of rage, okay, is definitely not helpful. We can kind of, it's like an angry kid that's throwing a temper tantrum. Let's just move on.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to get at was the nomination process, because I think it's really important what you just said there, is you laid out within the party, there is a process. We have heard of people, getting through the CA level, but then not making it all the way to the actual election. Nadine Wellwood comes to mind. Tim Hoven comes to mind. So we have heard situations where during the selection process, candidates didn't make it all the way through. But what we've heard since then, because I want to be, timelines sensitive here, is Danielle Smith mentioned that all nominations will be open in the next round. And I've heard from many people, CA presidents, and also people on your board, because we had them interviewed on the show prior to the AGM, that they're not going to gatekeep candidates. They're not going to strike candidates after it went through the CA. So as long as we have those two things kind of committed to, this is a administrative paperwork issue then, like who signs the final thing. As long as the party can put forward the candidates that the CAs are putting forward, and there's, other than, you murdered somebody and maybe you shouldn't be in there, other than like extreme situations, the CAs are putting forward to the nominee that's representative of the people in that CA, then I have no problem with it. Okay, I personally actually came out early and said, I don't know why everybody's getting upset about this new amendment that's in Bill 14, because I actually prefer the ability of the leader to align their candidates with the mandate of the party, so we don't end up having fractions within the legislature itself, where it's divided there, people that are willing to work with the mandate from the people through the party, and those that are against it. So I actually hope that through this next process, we have a far more supportive legislature behind the premier. For example, COVID accountability. I know this is something that you pushed hard, you were looking for. We haven't seen full COVID accountability yet, because there are some people who don't support that. Okay, so I'm totally for the premier having the last endorsement, or the leader of the party actually having the last endorsement. But you've always done that within the party anyways. But the two caveats that I'm putting my hat on are the premier said open nominations, and the board said, as long as you're not a murderer, we're going ahead and bring you through. Is that accurate, what I'm saying there?
I'm not sure that I would entirely. I would want to provide a little more context to your final comment.
Mm-hmm.
When I ran,
you're gonna let murderers through?
Depends on who. No. That's
fair. No, fair. Context matters.
That's a joke.
Actually, yeah.
When I ran,
that's going to be clipped.
When I ran 2 years ago, one of the things that was important to me was, so I mean, we had a couple of people who were members of county council, one of which was a reeve. They were selected by their local neighbors to represent them. Since the offensive social media posts that ultimately saw them removed as a potential candidate in the constituencies that they were running for across the province. In my mind, that was just wrong. That's why Ols Didsbury Three Hills wrote letters on behalf of two people that at that point in time, none of us actually knew personally. We just knew of the circumstances, and we thought, this isn't a good circumstance. This doesn't make a lot of sense. This doesn't strike of fair, open, transparent. So when I ran 2 years ago, what I talked about was, is there not some way that we can actually pre-vet candidates? That if the biggest reason, or maybe even the only reason for getting disqualifying candidates is because of things they've put on Facebook or Instagram or X or whatever, can we not screen that ahead of time and have that fixed up ahead of time rather than after the fact, after the local candidate nominating committee has done their work, and then it gets to the provincial level, and then the vetting takes on a slightly more comprehensive degree, and lo and behold, the first conversation I had with the premier when she called me to congratulate me on earning the members' trust, she said, Rob, can you not look into something like pre-vetting of candidates so that people can actually run and know from the time that they submit their papers, that they're going to be an acceptable candidate. I said, Premier, music to my ears. I love it. It's great. So we've got that process in place now. And like, if there's people that are actually thinking about running for the 2027 election for a UCP candidacy in any of the current 87 CAs, even though we are not to a place where we have boundaries formalized, please contact us and submit your information, and we'll have Dustin will have his team go through the work. And if there's things that maybe need a little massaging or that we need to be aware of, we can do it now. So I just wanted to provide that little bit of context, because like the first thing you said, the words from the Premier, and then the thing is, we're not going to stand in the way of candidates. It's my objective in this next 2 years, when all the candidates are going to be selected for the 2027 October provincial election, I don't want to disqualify a candidate. That's my objective. And that's important enough to me that I actually requested to sit on our provincial candidate selection committee, not as an ex officio president, like I said, in all the committees. I wanted to be elected to that committee duly, because I want to sit there and roll my sleeves up and say what I know our members want to say. And that is, we don't want to disqualify people. So I just wanted to provide that context.
No, and that's fair. And we have two levels here. So when we say candidate, we actually have two types of candidates. There's a candidate to become the nominee, and then there's a candidate in the election. The nominee becomes the candidate. Right. So what you're highlighting there, I think, makes sense. So we'll focus on the nominee portion. I think pre-vetting before you can become a candidate for the nomination, I think it's a good step. But I do want to bring up Bill 13. Bill 13 basically says an organization should stay away from public personal opinions and not really use it against them. So I think there'll be a navigation going on there within the party, like, where's that line? And are we going to eat our own dog food, which is a term from the tech world, which means basically do what we say and offer. So within the party, will Bill 13 kind of have some sort of precedence within that process as well? Because if somebody comes forward, they're a great candidate for the nomination, they have what they need, there's a lot of support, they grew support locally, knocked on doors, got a bunch of support, got some new memberships, all that kind of stuff. But 5 years ago, they said something like, men are not women. Will that kind of thing disqualify them?
I don't believe that it will. And the reason why I don't believe that it will, Jason, is because I think that we have to accept that people change, people grow, and I think that that's the Christian way. I just don't think that kind of our pasts cannot be held against us in perpetuity.
I like that answer, because everybody at some point has said something that they wish they could walk back or have grown and changed their opinion on. I used to believe that we landed on the moon, so we'll just leave it there. I have no idea anymore. Things are so weird out there. But at the end of the day, Rob, I think what you're describing, as long as it's a fair process and it is Christian along that lines, like there's some forgiveness and understanding, and let's focus on who we got in front of us here today, I think you're going to end up with quite the slate next time around, because there's some people who are not running again. So there's definitely some nominations that need to be filled this time around. And also, correct me if I'm wrong, they're redrawing the lines, the boundaries in this next election, and that process is supposed to be done soon. And I was told that there's going to likely be a nomination process starting a little bit early to start filling all of that. Is that true? And are you prepared to get that process going?
So yes and yes. My hope is that our provincial government will be passing the new boundaries as a law by the end of March, which will allow us to get busy like the very next day on the candidate selection processes. And I know that some of my fellow provincial board members, our regional directors, get a little bit freaked out, particularly maybe those in our capital region of Edmonton, where we'll have 20 to do. But I actually would love to have those orphan ridings, as we call them, which is where we do not have a sitting UCP MLA. I would love to have those candidates in place by the end of June. Now, recognizing that that's only a 3-month time frame, I know that that's putting a lot of pressure on Edmonton and on Calgary to be able to get those people in place. But Jason, Paula, one of the things that I was told when I was running for president 2 years ago by people who had been candidates in 2023 in Edmonton and in Calgary was, can we be nominated today? Like, the longer we have, particularly in the urban areas where there are community leagues and campaigning is just different than it is in the rural areas. Uh, we need as long of a runway as we possibly can to establish ourselves in the community, to ingrain ourselves with the local culture, and to do the things that the NDP do incredibly successfully, which is show up at community events. So it's really my goal that by the time, at the very least, we're into midsummer next year, that we've got all of those orphan CA candidates determined for what will be the October 2027 election slate. And if we could have all of them by the end of the year, man, I'd sure be happy with that. I mean, I know that's impossible because there will be some MLAs like last time that didn't decide whether they were going to run or not until, not that long before the writ. So we'll be faced with a few really difficult circumstances. But from a party perspective, this I guarantee you, there will be no barrier to this because we're all fiscal conservatives. There's no question about that. But we want to get this right. And if that means we have to allocate more financial resources towards kind of staffing up a little bit to run these candidate selection processes, we'll do it because that's in the best interests of our membership and our party and the election in October 2027.
Okay, so for people who are listening right now and are considering putting themselves forward, you did mention maybe put your name up forward for pre-vetting, because that might be part of the process. But what are some of the hard requirements? Do you have to live in the riding? Do you have to have been in public at all before? What are some of the hard requirements?
Well, Jason, hard requirements to become a publicly elected official. That's such a. I think maybe when I was younger, those existed maybe more than they do now. Like, it seemed to me that growing up that you needed to have been.
What?
No. You need to have been what? What is it, Rob?
Yeah, we just lost his camera completely, not just audio. Okay, we're gonna wait a few moments here.
Yeah.
Hopefully he comes right back. No, I know you have to be a citizen. I know you have to be 18. No criminal record. I believe there's criminal record search even on a municipal level. So you got to pass those things. But what I was getting at is, do you have to be a resident of the riding? You have to have any experience in it, and I don't know what the answer is to that. But hopefully we get him back, because that was right where we were waiting for the meat and potatoes on that one. I do see a lot of frustration in our chat. I get that. Okay. And I do bring these conversations forward for the purpose of hearing what they have to say. And again, this isn't a show about trying to echo chamber and finding only things that we like to talk about. So I do see the frustration in the chat.
Yeah.
We can chat about that a bit as we hope his connection comes back.
A lot of people saying, like, I've been dealing with this for 45 years. And again, it's people also want a clarification. Just because I'm frustrated, just because I'm angry, just because I'm even vocal about it, doesn't make me a rage baiter.
Correct. And I think some of those, I don't like labeling. Okay? That's a lefty thing to do, to try and label things. I think it's actually good to have a group that's angry, especially when it comes to like legal. It's like, okay, well, we're going to release the hounds now at this stage. Like I said earlier in the show, I think Wrath does provide a benefit, and that is to help funnel the very angry people. Okay, there is a group that's angry. Every once in a while, somebody will come up to an event, and I won't say what they say, but because I don't align with them in any way, shape, or form. But we need to temper down some of the frustration. And I think maybe what Rob was trying to get at is the arrow tossing doesn't help.
Yeah.
And trying to create new issues when we're still working on other issues doesn't help. But what Rob needs to understand is that's normal. That happens in any group, okay? Especially conservatives. Conservatives will hold each other accountable. And it's actually a good process. For example, when the information from CBC came out, Wrath came out really hard. And then we helped clarify what was going on and got CBC to make a correction. And then Wrath did an apology. So that's helpful. I think that's helpful because it also shows whether or not he's just rage or whether or not he is angry. There's a distinction there. And I know that a lot of our viewers are angry. They're not rage. So hopefully Rob got that part of it. Maybe he'll rewatch this episode to understand that when he's doing that, he's also throwing arrows.
Yeah.
And maybe he should be focused on going forward.
Because name calling, agreed here. Name calling doesn't achieve anything. And if you want to be loud and angry, just bring up the talking points, bring up the main issues that people are angry about. And yes, no insults don't help. But I think people can be raging, but when they're sharing the information that's factual and truthful and pushes forward on why independence is such a big issue for Albertans, the better. If you're just going to do name calling, of course not. Who wants to listen to that?
Okay, so Rob's trying to reconnect.
Yeah, I can see he's sideways right now on the thing.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, he's trying to, there he is. You're back. You're back. Okay, so it was right at the point where you said, and the only requirements are, and then you cut off. So we're trying to figure out to become a candidate for a nomination. It was the perfect timing. It was like if you picked it any better, you couldn't. What is, and my main question for you is, do you have to be a resident of that riding or a long-standing resident of that riding?
You do not. You do not. And actually, one of the things I've learned, Jason and Paula, recently is, particularly in the urban areas, we have a significant number of MLAs who don't actually physically reside in the CA that they're elected to represent. So there is not a physical residency requirement. One of the things that I did say while I was, waxing rhapsodical into the ether was that I would love it if you're going to be a UCP candidate, if you have been an active UCP person. But if you are a conservative-minded person and you have the desire to represent your people and a vision for Alberta, regardless of whether that vision is a federalist one or an independence one, I'll be totally honest, please give it some thought. Reach out to me, and if you're not active in the party, I'll try to put you in touch with some of the local constituency associations, and you can spend a little time with them, see if it's something that works or not. The thing about our party right now is, as I said before, in many different platforms, we are the most grassroots political party in Canada. There's no question. And I don't think that's ever going to change. And the reason why it isn't is because we are the most grassroots party. Our membership is not going to give up that power and authority. They're just not going to do it. Our members are in control of our party. And so they're going to pick the candidates and they're going to pick the people that they want. And so in my mind, I just think it's really important that if you want to be a candidate, that you be someone who has a strong level of respect for A, the grassroots conservatives in your area, but then B, the citizens of the area, because once you become an MLA, you'll be serving them.
Okay, so that's very exciting music to my ears, because I know that there's a lot of people out there who didn't know how that works. So if you're not a UCP member, maybe become one. That might be a first step. And if you want to represent, put your name forward. So Rob said, reach out and get that process started. That election we'll be here before you know it.
Yeah,
as somebody who's ran on the federal level and municipal level, I understand how quickly these things come up and then how short period of time you have. And I also sympathize with the urban areas where they're saying we want to have as much time as possible. You have to get out there. There's a lot of doors to knock on. Okay, so Rob, can you just hang on? So we still have a few more minutes for you. We're going to jump over to our supportive section where we kind of let our hair down. I don't have much left, but we kind of let our hair down and hang out there because it's less public. Do you have any final messages for Albertans who are watching you right now?
Other than just saying, United Conservative Party, I believe, is proud to be the party that actually holds the government in this province, that has the largest caucus, that actually has the leader of our province. So being able to have the premier, she is a premier who is very, very committed to Albertans across the board. And if you're hearing anything that is indicating otherwise, I really implore you to try to pursue that yourself, because I think you'll learn when you do your own research that we have a generational leader that is absolutely here for us.
Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing where this goes. And the next 2 years are going to be huge. And then a couple more years after that will be really big for Alberta and Alberta history. Conservatives and our next generations. This is where a lot of that anger comes from, because kids are living at home. They can't find work or jobs. There's a lot of frustration out there. And I can see that you understand that. and you respect it. So thanks, Rob. So hang on a minute, okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll be right back with you.
Yep.
Sure.
Ooh, the tech gremlins got us a couple times there. First the audio at the wrong time, and then the video. But he's back. Okay, so if you want to support this show, make sure you share it out. You give it a like and a share. Hit that bell if you want to be notified when episodes are coming up. Reminder that we have Mickey Amory on the show live at 3 p.m. today, as we're going to have a conversation, deep dive into Bill 13 and 14 a little bit further than what Rob and I just did there. We'll also be talking about the guns rights and talking about Castle law doctrine. And we'll also touch on the recall, the abuse of the recall process that we see going on right now. So 3 o'clock today, 5 in the Eastern. And also Bruce Party will be joining that one.
Yep.
So
and as a reminder, you can go ahead and get tickets to your event, fundamentaltruth.eventbrite.ca. And I've gone ahead and put the link in the chat for you guys as well.
Yep. January 10th, we've got 8 speakers. It's going to be a fantastic event. Bruce Party, Leighton Gray, John Carpay, Sean Buckley, Bathsheba Vandenberg, Mia Hughes, Dr. Jack Mintz, and Teresa Buckley. I think I got the whole list that time.
Good stuff.
I'm working on it. So get your tickets. It is selling very well. Make sure that you're there. All right. So, folks, we're going to jump over now to our local side. So you can always become a member and hang out, because we're going to have another conversation with our great guest here, Rob Smith.
Yeah.
So thanks. And also, I wanted to throw thanks to Rob and Mickey Amory and the rest of the people in the Conservative Party who do come on the show to have conversations.
Yeah.
These are live. There was no questions from him, no vetting, nothing like that. This is live. He's taking them as it happens. So I appreciate that candor and that commitment to reaching the audience.
Yes, and thanks for all the interactions with the chat. Greatly.
You guys are awesome. Keep it up. Keep it up.
But otherwise, everyone have a fantastic day, and see you in the morning. Bye for me.
Take care of each other. I love you all very much, and God bless.